What's up, my dude? So RV is the real GOAT. So one reason why is because whenever the very first time that I saw Ryan Villopoto riding in real life on a Supercross race, guess what song he had playing whenever he came out for opening ceremonies? Pretty boy swag. Hey. Just that fact alone makes him the greatest of all time right there. But no, man, Ryan Villopoto, I have never in my days seen someone ride a dirt bike like that. I know a lot of people are Ricky Carmichael fans, and a lot of people sort of think he's like the greatest of all time just because of winning all of those motocross championships, and I think he's got like 5 supercross championships. When you look at the numbers, obviously it's more like Carmichael, even though McGrath is more so your supercross kind of greatest of all time in a certain sense. But like with Villopoto, it's just the way he rode the bike, man. I've never seen someone ride like that. It's just, it was unreal. In his prime, I'm talking 2011, 12, 13. See, 14, he kind of like mellowed out and started riding more like a Dungy. But I'm talking about 11, 12, and 2013. All of those years, especially the year where he had to come back. I think that was in 13 maybe, where Millsaps was like leading the championship for a while. And then he started just riding like a bat out of hell. Dude, I don't think you'll ever see something quite like that as far as how he was riding that bike, man. He was the definition of perfection, but like being on the edge, but being in 100% control of it. You know, like with motocross, you either see them where they're wicked fast, but they'll crash, or you see them where they're a little more mellow, but they're consistent. Well, Villopoto was able to have both of those different attributes in the exact same capacity. Like, he had both of them to the maximum. Consistency and just raw speed. And just the way, like, he had such a unique riding style where he would come into the corners and he would spin the bike around with the throttle. Like, it was almost like he was on a jet ski or something. You know, he would spin, everything he did on the bike was reacting from how he was hitting the throttle with it. You know, it wasn't like he came into a corner and slammed on the brakes or really did anything like that. It was all about how he steered the bike with the throttle. And it just seemed like the way he rode, like, most people just did not ride like that. I don't even know how to explain it, but like whenever you saw him in real life or even on TV, just the perfection of every little jump and every little section, his mind, it was almost like it was on another level, you know, just from the way he rode. And I know a lot of people have their favorite riders, and if Villopoto's not necessarily your favorite or greatest of all time or whatever, that's cool. You know, that's your own opinion. But I do want to let you guys know right off the bat that Ryan Villopoto was not my, like, favorite rider when I was watching Supercross in 2011, 12, 13, and 14. He wasn't like, oh, I just love Ryan Villopoto. I was more of like Stewart, Dungy, you know, I was a little more into those dudes. So it's not like I've always been a Ryan Villopoto fan and I'm just like fanboying out right now. It's after he retired, whenever I really started looking back and realizing just how dominant Villopoto actually was. And it's the way they do it, man. It's his championship sort of like Villopoto was going to perform. It didn't matter if you knocked him off the bike, if his bike, I mean, if you go back and look at some of the footage, like when he was trying to win one of the championships, he'd be like whipping it in the air with no back fender, you know, like he's crashed, all kinds of shit, and he's still whipping it all the way sideways over a triple. Like, dude is getting it done no matter what else happens. Like, Ryan Villopoto was one of them you could bet your money on, you know, no matter who else was there. That was the thing. Like, Villopoto won at a time where there was top riders of every type of rider. For instance, like you had Stewart there, which was more of your wicked, wide-open hit quads and a little more inconsistent, but you also had a top rider that was the opposite of that with Dungey, that was super consistent, and you had to stay consistent to beat him. And then you had Chad Reed in there, which rode like he did, and then you had Roczen there at the end. And so Villopoto was winning at a time where there was top riders of every other kind of riding style, every riding style you could possibly have in the championship at that point in time. And I don't even know if you can really say that about a lot of the other greats in like Supercross and stuff. I feel like, I mean, when Ricky Carmichael was really winning, I feel like he was the only one that was really putting in the like workout work. I mean, the other people were definitely working out and stuff, but, like, if you think back to McGrath's era, he was probably one of the only ones that was really taking it super, super serious and working out. And then with Carmichael, you know, he kind of took that to another level. But, like, when Villopoto was racing, I feel like he was one of the first ones that was, like, really started to dominate in a time where a lot more of the top riders were really getting into the workout aspect of it. And really, everyone was on more of an even playing field in that sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, Villopoto, it seemed like he was winning in more of a time where I feel like there was way more of a physical, everyone was doing a little more in that sense. So, when people talk about the greatest of all time, it's not just stats. You know, like Muhammad Ali, I consider him the greatest of all time, but he doesn't have nowhere near the stats of like a Floyd Mayweather. And some people consider Floyd Mayweather the greatest of all time. But Muhammad Ali, it's like those people where they just, it's the way they do it is like completely different than anyone else has ever done it. And I guess Floyd Mayweather does have that in a sense, like defensively. But the way Muhammad Ali, like, he would have his hands down beside him when he was fighting. He didn't even have them up in front of his face like everyone would teach you to box. You know, that's not how Muhammad Ali did it. He did it his own way, an entirely different way. And I almost feel like that's how Villopoto was as well. It's as if he rode that dirt bike entirely different than you, like, technically should. He just, I don't know, man. He was loose on the bike, but yet just so precise at the same time. And just transcending, like, every time you watch Villopoto ride, it was like a highlight reel. You know, every single time. You knew something. He was exciting to watch. Like, it was, like, worth your money to watch it every time. Like, for instance, with like, some of the other riders, like Floyd Mayweather, or just, I say rider, he's not a rider, but just some other people in other sports, they don't have that, like, as excitement factor as some of the other athletes in certain sports out there. And it's not to take anything away from them. I just think certain athletes just have more of a transcending, like, nature to, like, when they did what they did, how they did what they did, who they did it up against. Things like that all play into the different factors of it. But yeah, I mean, Ryan Villopoto, I mean, I know a lot of people don't really consider him the greatest of all time. He's kind of been put into this, I think a lot of people just kind of forget about him a little bit nowadays. And but someone that actually lived and watched him through the years really understands what was going on there. Like, dude was wicked. Let me just put it to you this way. Villopoto in his prime versus anybody else in their prime, my money is on Poto, bro. Poto, pass me pronto. Dude, like, it's that simple. You know, he found a way to focus at all times. He had the utmost focus of any rider I've ever seen. And just some of his highlight reels where he would, like, land in a wheelie. He was the master of getting power to the ground and getting, like, drive out of a corner. And that is, like, what motocross and supercross is all about. And he was able to be wicked at motocross and supercross, both of them. He wasn't just, you know, one or the other. I think a lot of people kind of forget a little bit just because it was kind of short-lived, you know. He just won the motocross, couple motocross championships, and then kind of did the supercross thing for 4 years. I know he had his big, and not even to mention, you know, having that super bad injury and then coming back from that, having that crazy ride at the Donations race where he was on a 250, hole-shotted both motos, 250s against 450s, okay, and he was on 250s, hole-shotted both motos, led every lap of both motos, and won both of them. Is that not crazy? On a 250. And by the way, I'm pretty sure Ricky Carmichael and Chad Reed was at that race on 450s. He smoked all them kids, dude. Like, all of them on a 250F. You know, that'll probably never, ever happen again. So it's just some amazing highlight reel type rides. And I don't know, the guy just... It's just something I'll never forget watching Villopoto ride. Every single time I went and watched a real-life Supercross race, guess who won? Yes, sir, Villopoto. Every single time. Like, it just happened to be that way. Like, I've watched, I think, 3 real-life Supercross races in my time, and every single time Villopoto won the main event. So, it's, he's bad to the bone, man. No other way to explain it. It's, even though, you know, he may not have, like, super big numbers, he does have the... tied with McGrath for the most consistent, consecutive, I should say, wins as far as 450 Supercross championships. They both got 4 in a row, which that just makes it all the crazier when you get championships in a row like that. It just, the way he dominated for that amount of time against who he was doing it against at the level everyone was, and the way the tracks were, I feel like they were almost a little more wide open and a little faster then than they are now. Now they almost seem like tightened up, and where the jumps are more peaked and they're like way more ruddy and stuff, it seems like now, than they were then. Maybe I'm just thinking that, I don't know. But it just seemed like there was like a faster pace back then than it is now. So... yeah, man, that Villopoto, I mean, is the greatest of all time to me. You may have some other ones that, you know, come through and definitely do well in Supercross and motocross, but just the sheer wickedness of RV2, I don't know if it'll ever be matched. So, either way, I appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.